I know there are probably people out there wondering, why in the world am I an atheist? Well, there are many reasons as to what led me to atheism. I'm rather new to professing it, as it has been a recent discovery. I'm a total newborn atheist, and I'm proud to say it. So, here are the events of my life that brought me to the conclusion that I am indeed an atheist. I started going to church regularly when I was about 8 years old, a Pentecostal church nonetheless. I can remember being skeptical about it even then. I would often pray that God perform some miracle or sign to me to prove that He was real, though the prayers always went unanswered. I would read the Bible and feel like I was reading some sort of strange sadistic fairy tale. I always inquired into why these stories were. How could God create the whole entire world in 6 days? How could God basically wipe out all of humanity in a flood? How could David beat Goliath? Why didn't Daniel get eaten by the lion? If I ever asked my Sunday school teacher or a pastor, the answer was always God, usually with a lot more ridiculous words added to the answer, but the bottom line was always God. The older I got, the more skeptical I became, and finally, when I was 16, I started going to a church where the pastor was big on apologetics. I went to Bible study every chance I had, where we learned about the pros and cons of different religions: Islam, Buddhism, paganism, Satanism, but it was all from the Christian perspective. I still had questions, the main one being, how could Christianity be the one true religion? When I was 17, I got date raped and had my virginity taken, and being somewhat of a Christian, I believed in not having sex until I was married. So, where did I fit into God's plan? Why did He let this happen to me? These were the questions I began having, so I went through phases of going to church and not going for probably the last couple years of my life. Usually I would go back to church when my life seemed chaotic and out of control, but only to be disappointed when life was still the same, even though I was trying to live right and be a good Christian. I remember when I was 20, I went to this church, and they didn't do things like I was used to. Well, apparently the way I worshiped scared some members, and I had said some things to another member they thought was of the devil. I remember the pastor's wife pulling me into the office and giving me a tongue lashing in a proper Christian fashion. I was so appalled by her words, her ignorance. How could she tell me that the way I worship was wrong just because they didn't understand it? How could they prove that what I had said was wrong? She hadn't given me any biblical references as to the reasons why I was wrong. So I went many years going through this philosophical journey of sorts, studying other religions. I proclaimed to be agnostic for a long time just because I didn't want to come to any conclusions on the matter until I was, at least to some degree, educated. One day I was talking to someone who was an atheist about evolution, and I realized something. It was profound. I started thinking about all the religions I had studied over the years. Oh my, I thought to myself, I think they all are seriously wrong. There are some similarities in all religion, but they are very vague. Then I started to ask myself, is there really a God? I sat there for a minute, blank, really trying to take it all in. It was a turning point in my life. How could any religion be right when they base their beliefs on something that men wrote or said? How do we know that there is a God and that it's not just our way of explaining the unexplainable? That is when I came to the fact that I am an atheist, because I didn't truly believe in God or any other deity. I came to this conclusion without studying Dawkins, Hitchens, or Harris. These guys are totally new to me. This is why I say I'm a newborn atheist. That is simply it. I don't believe in God, therefore I'm an atheist. My rational, skeptical mind just cannot conceive that there is a God when I look at the bigger picture. Some might say that I'm closed-minded, but I would say that they haven't opened their minds enough to see things from my point of view. Now that I've said that, I want to add that I still have a lot to learn about other religions. I don't profess to know everything about all religions. It's part of the reason I don't debate religion. And I also believe that you should never try to convince anyone else why you believe something is or isn't. Religion to me is partly perspective. It has a lot to do with how you are raised, the culture you live in, etc. Basically, it's whatever suits your ideas of the world and your moral values. Many conflicts have been started on the grounds of religion. These events often come to mind: the Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades, the Salem witch trials, and even Hitler in World War II. Those are just a few that were in the name of Christianity. There is a constant war going on between Muslims and Jews in Israel just because they believe that their sect of people came from the chosen son of Abraham. Muslims believe that Ishmael was the chosen one, and Jews believe Isaac was the chosen one. Yes, the Islamic prophet Muhammad was supposedly of the lineage of Ishmael. It's strange how Abraham has two children by two different women, and it causes problems still today. There are many more examples, but these are just the major ones that come to mind when I think about this topic. Religion is a crutch. Religion is a scapegoat. Religion is a way to separate you from the whole. It causes discourse and dissension among humanity. Religion gives people the false sense of purpose for the greater good. I am more content being an atheist than I ever was as a Christian. Atheism is not sad, and please don't pity me because I am an atheist.